Well, I have an update for you. We've been up to Wisconsin for 5 days. We worked alongside Verge and Patrick, who have been the primaries on the project and keeping it going this whole time. And it is a big space to keep track of. Join me. Well, we're back up in Door County, Wisconsin at the Kitchen Garden Project. And it's the battle of the weeds today. Al and I met Verge and Patrick at the garden, and the four of us went to battle fiercely with the weeds. Now, we didn't win, but we sure made a huge dent. Growth has been tremendous, and we just needed to reclaim the garden back from all the weeds that have happened. They came out of the ground easily because it had rained so much, and there weren't too many super noxious weeds. The worst was bindweed that we found, and we were able to dig down and pull most of the roots. So we are hopefully ahead of that problem. And it's great when you work together as a team, what can be accomplished. You're going great guns getting those Adirondack blues harvested.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, I'm super pleased with the production on these potato plants here in the straw bale. I mean, this is what I got from just 2 plants. And, you know, some of these obviously are more like baby potatoes, but there are so many. And, you know, they make the best mashed potatoes, the prettiest mashed potatoes. We watch a lot of cooking competitions, and I noticed this last year, many of the very important chefs here in the United States have been making their potato dishes using the purple potatoes. And you know what I like about them, what I first started using them for is the nutritional value of them is so much more robust. You know, it's a lot more nutritional value in these colored potatoes, these deeply colored potatoes.
So when you're harvesting out of the center of this straw bale, do you feel like it's the same as when you do it in the earth or in a bucket, or is it comparable?
As far as the quantity, you mean, or the texture? Well, I mean, the quantity, anytime that you plant potatoes, in my experience anyway, whenever you plant potatoes in a trench, whether it's in the ground in good friable soil like this, or in a trench like we have here between the straw bale, you get a pretty good result. I have personally not had great results in a bucket, and it could be because I wasn't diligent enough watering them. I've got half a 5-gallon bucket, and I'm only halfway through, and this was with just probably 15 little portions of potatoes that I put in, seed starters. So I'm very, very pleased with them, and you know, Robin, that we're donating all this food, right? That's the primary reason for this garden. So tomorrow I'll be harvesting a lot of the chard and kale and also the potatoes, basil, anything that we can harvest tomorrow and take that over to the food pantry.
Well, it's been 7 weeks since I was here.
Yeah.
Yeah?
A lot of rain, a lot of sun since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, there's been an explosion of growth and an explosion of weeds. And we got ahead of the weeds a little bit, and we'll give you a full tour, but we'd like to talk about some things in the garden that are positive and some things that need some improvement or elimination. So Patrick, can I ask some lessons learned thus far into the project?
Well, the most important lesson that I learned was that you have to get your tomato cages in right away. In the past, I haven't had tomato plants that took off as rapidly as these have. So I usually waited till they got a little bigger and I would put the tomato cages in. But these just kind of caught me by surprise. And so I did get some of them into a tomato cage that was more rectangular than the traditional cone-shaped ones. And those were okay, but some of them they've got branches going straight sideways, and there's nothing you can do really to corral those. So that was probably the one thing that I could have done differently that might have helped out a little bit.
Okay. So Virg, do you have any lessons learned?
Yeah, actually, this is the very first time I'd ever done straw bale. And so I did a lot of research ahead of time, and what I discovered is they don't tell you the nuts and bolts of setting this thing up on YouTube videos. They kind of show you everything in place, but not really like how to dig out the trenches. I mean, they do tell you how to prep the soil, which is like 10 days of intense watering, and then the blood meal to get the straw decomposing. But yeah, it's a chore to actually pull the fibers apart so you can actually plant some things. So that took a little bit of doing. The other thing was I planned this with the potatoes in the center without realizing, of course, at that time the potatoes sprawl. And so if you're putting things around the perimeter, you got to account for like how you're going to corral the potato vines or whatever other vines you've got, so the surrounding plants will get enough sunlight. So important.
Well, I've had a few lessons learned this go round. Sweet peas are hard on any given day, and they were really hard here. And we've only got 3 that have survived. So we're going to do some succession planting and put in squash and cucumbers on that trellis. Also, carrots were difficult, and they can be difficult to get germinated. Early on in this project, we had a severe drought actually up here for a good 2 to 3 weeks, right, at the beginning. And that made for difficult germination, which it happens. Also, we lost some of the pixie cabbages to cabbage whites, but we've learned that the red acre are doing well, and they've had 1 treatment with neem oil.
So this is our bush bean bed. It's a combination of tiger eye beans and the native Kenpashki beans up here in Door County. Most of these are the tiger eye beans that Virg provided to us. And I must say, I've never seen a bean variety that took off so quickly. It was planted, and within 2 weeks, it was just bursting out of the ground. And as you can see, it's just filled this space up completely, to such a degree that we're going to try to save most of the beans to donate to the Door County Seed Library so that we can spread these around next year among the community, promoting them as a fast-growing, fast-germinating.
This is the Three Sisters garden. We did the conventional Native American selections last year. This year we went a little different. We went with a very robust French squash, and I wish I could tell you the name of it. I'm sure Robin can fill us in on that. She's got pictures. And we've got a blue corn. So I'm looking forward to grinding that and making some yummy things out of that. And then the beans that we've got are, at this point, they're not doing as well as I had hoped. I have some started at home that I may end up transplanting into it, but all in all, very, very happy with the way things are coming up. I know last year we lost all the squash to rabbits, and this year we put the rabbit fencing around the entire garden. So hopefully when all these blossoms start, we will end up having squash as a result of them.
Fabulous. Welcome to the Door County Seed Library's Kitchen Garden Project. It has been 7 weeks since we have been here, and I'd like to update you on each and every one of the 5 sections of this garden. As we enter the garden, on the left there are some mock oranges which have been planted just for the beauty. There's some volunteer dill in there as well. Then there is a small Three Sisters patch that has sweet corn, Kentucky pole beans, and squash delicata, and some Black Beauty zucchini. There are medicinal mullein and several volunteer sunflowers. As you can see here, one of the sunflowers has already started to bloom. Within the companion garden, there are several peppers. These are all peppers that were left over from the Master Gardener plant sale. There's broccoli, there's eggplant, and many other interspersed vegetables. A variety of tomatoes, which are doing wonderfully. This row of cabbage. And a teepee full of cucumbers. There's Market More and Socrates. There's also Calypso bean. And in this section there are russet potatoes, fingerling potatoes, a bit of volunteer garlic, and oh, more of these beautiful sunflowers. There's chard and lacinato kale, cabbage, and 3 varieties of eggplant. Now we enter the respite garden area. Up front we have red acre cabbage. This survived the cabbage whites. Some greens that have bolted, and we've planted squash next to it. Those will be pulled as soon as the squash takes off. And in the cage are 2 tomatoes, Manitoba and Purple Heart, dwarf. In front of that, by the rocks, is where the pixie cabbage failed. Cabbage white butterflies got it. And we have celeriac planted. That's a delicious root vegetable. These are pinto gold potatoes, and they're doing marvelously. In front of that is where the carrots failed. So we have planted Purple Majesty bush beans. There's a volunteer sunflower, and this is a small patch of a trio of beets, and that's doing very well. They're starting to size up now. Next to that are multiple varieties of onions and celery. These are 2 Anaheim peppers. Those have a low Scoville rating. And then we enter the tiny meadow of flowers to draw in the pollinators and the butterflies. And it is really starting to come into its own. There are cosmos and alyssum and salvia, calendula, and this is one of many patches of milkweed that have been here for a few years now. And the owner of the property said it is the first time in 2 years that she has seen monarchs in the garden, so that's wonderful. This will be ever changing as the season goes on. And here's the container garden. It's doing well with herbs, flowers, radishes, some greens. And some of the buckets have now been spread around the garden as well. This is the little bistro section where you can stop and take in all of the garden. Again, there's another patch of the milkweed coming. There's some amaranth and a bucket of marigolds with chard. And these are the borlato beans. They're Italian, delicious, and they are loving this spot. Doing very well. But not doing very well was the sweet pea trellis. Only 3 survived, but that's okay. It's now been planted up with seeds of lemon cucumber and a climbing squash or courgette. These are the Miss Mars sunflowers, and they are starting to form their heads, so they should be looking quite beautiful very shortly. This bucket has greens and herbs and a little celery in it. And now you can look backwards on that little meadow that's in the respite garden. It's lovely. And now we're over into the straw bale area. Earlier you saw Verge harvesting the potatoes out of the center, but you can see the various things along the edges that, quite frankly, were struggling a little bit because they were being overshadowed by the potatoes, and they'll come into their own now. She's going to plant in some carrots and squash and beans and beets, I believe. So that'll be a great succession. These are some French fingerling potatoes, and they're doing nicely in that root pouch. And the compost area is filling up fast. That section right there, we did a good number on filling up when we were there 2 days ago, and look how far it has sunk down already. It's crazy how fast that happens. On the edge of the compost are 2 gourds planted. They're gourds that will be used to make musical instruments. They're climbing happily among the volunteer sunflowers and the milkweed. This is a teepee of red, long noodle beans. So once those start to climb, it should look amazing. And this is the salsa garden. There are lots of tomatoes in here, and mostly sprawling and being left to just be as natural as possible at this point. Of course, if disease or other problems start to occur, then there will be some trimming happening. But for now, the plan is to just let it be quite a natural patch of tomatoes. And they are happy, happy, happy tomatoes. And next to the tomatoes are the peppers. The peppers are doing very well as well. There's some herbs planted in there like basil and cilantro. Again, some more volunteer sunflowers. And then we enter the bean patch. Patrick talked to us about that earlier. And here in this bucket is a Space Master cucumber. Those were seeds that were distributed through the library. I have some going in my own garden back in Chicagoland. There's a mullein and a sunflower. And just look at those beans. They are awesome. This is a little patch of herbs and flowers. And that cilantro will just let go to seed at this point. But it's a great spot to draw in the pollinators. There's lavender, some more tomatoes, and then you enter the Three Sisters garden that Verge talked to us about earlier. Doing very, very well, but she does intend to add some more beans that she has started at home. And outside the garden are the transplanted raspberries, which are thriving. And the owner has a lovely patch of garlic going, has its scapes on now. Well, I sure hope you enjoyed this episode, an update of the Kitchen Garden Project. And I hope that you want to subscribe so that you can come back and see future updates of the Kitchen Garden Project. And remember, sometimes the only thing we harvest is knowledge. And that's okay. Bye for now. We'll see you on the next one.